Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is all about vaccination policy, and the editorial says it should be based on evidence, not based on precedents. An interesting editorial you may get as a passage in prelims or mains, and do remember any editorial related to or any article related to vaccination, COVID, the pandemic, very important, another 2 or 3 years down the line. We'll go to editorial vocabulary and have a look at important words. What is the very first word? Precedent. We have got many a time part of speech noun, an earlier event or action that is regarded as an example or guide to be considered in subsequent similar circumstances. Is everything all right? Audio and video, please respond. Precedence is also noun form. An earlier event or action that is regarded as an example or guide to be considered in subsequent similar circumstances. No one has responded. Is audio and video everything clear? There's a power cut, so I'm checking. Decisive. Wow, thanks for the response. Thank you. Decisive, decisive. Either way, it is acceptable. Part of speech, adjective. We have got this word as well. Having or showing the ability to make decisions quickly and effectively. Ability to make decisions quickly and effectively. Thank you. Impose, we have got so many times. See, when you follow the editorials or read the editorials regularly, initially you may come across about 15 to 20 new words, one editorial. If you continue reading, what happens? The number keeps coming down. At some point, you may come across just one or two words, and many words become familiar. If you look at these words, many of these words you have already come across and should not be a problem. Only a few new words you may come across. That is the best part. Impose, part of speech verb. Force on someone, usually something that is not acceptable. Unwelcome decision or ruling. Usually we say don't impose your ideas on others. A reason could be a noun, it could be a verb. Here, a reason. Please focus on the editorial analysis and what I'm doing. Don't go off the track. Think, understand, and form judgments logically. A reason something means what? Think of something. Conundrums an important word they have given many a time. Bank exams. What does it mean? Part of speech noun. A confusing and difficult problem or question. Something that is very complicated, difficult to handle. We use the word conundrums. STEM has got so many meanings, and this also we have got. STEM as a noun, it goes with plants, and as a verb, it has two different opposing meanings. One meaning, something that originates, comes from. The other meaning, stop something, the spread of something. In this context, the second meaning, to stop something unwanted from spreading or increasing. Stem something means stop something. Susceptibility, part of speech noun. You should not get confused between vulnerability, susceptibility. In a way, they are synonyms, but subtle difference. What is that subtle difference? Susceptibility goes more with emotions, goes more with health or health related issues. Vulnerability goes more with exploitation. The state or fact of being likely or liable to be influenced or harmed by a particular thing, susceptible to something. Besieged, an important word, though we have got part of speech verb to surround a place, especially with an army. But in this context, not that meaning. To be surrounded by the COVID cases, you can say. Woefully, part of speech adverb, easy to make out. In a manner expressing sorrow or misery, it has a negative connotation. Woefully means something very bad, expressing sorrow or misery. Outstrip, part of speech verb, to be or become greater than something or someone in amount, degree, or success. It goes beyond and better than something. Then we use the word outstrip, an important word. Rife takes the word preposition with, rife with something. It has a negative connotation usually, especially of something undesirable, negative, of common occurrence, widespread, rife with the pandemic cases means what? widespread cases you come across. Ascribe, part of speech verb, ascriber, regard something as being due to, a cause. Tomorrow you get success meet on the stage. They ask the reason for the secret, the success, for the success. Then you say, I attribute my success to my parents, or I ascribe the success to my parents. Means what? Regard something as being due to, or the reason, the cause. Foreground, as a noun, a different meaning. As a verb, a different meaning. Here, as a verb, make something the most prominent or important feature. Foregrounded, make something important, prominent feature. Nascent, an important word, though we haven't got in the recent past. Part of speech adjective, especially of a process or organization just coming into existence and beginning to display signs of future potential. Something that is new, something that is emerging. We use the word nascent technologies, means what? Emerging technologies. A rage we have got to happen in a strong or violent way. But typical meaning of the word rage, it goes with anger, violent anger, rage. Forefront, something is in the forefront. Part of speech noun, the most noticeable or important position, an important word. You can also say naive, that goes more with an individual. Curb, an important word. Part of speech verb, to control or limit something that is not wanted. Curb something means to restrict something. Blight usually goes with botany, it goes with plants, disease. And here, blight, part of speech noun, something that spoils, has a very bad effect on something, often for a long time. Even here, it has a negative connotation. Grapple takes the preposition with, it also takes the preposition for. Grapple for something, grapple with something, to fight, especially in order to win something. The children grapple for the ball. So remember, it goes with the, it takes a preposition with, it takes a preposition for. Discourse, public discourse, communication, speech or writing, religious discourse, a typical combination. These are the words based on the editorial. Now let us go to the editorial. A familiar topic should not be that difficult to understand. At the outset, what is it? What is this about? It is about weighing evidence. Weigh the evidence means consider the evidence and take into consideration evidence. And based on that, the main idea of the editorial, emerging evidence, evidence that is coming up, emerging evidence, not precedents, must govern India's policy on vaccination. As I said, this editorial is all about the policy related to vaccination, and the editorial opines the policy on vaccination should not be based on precedents, it should be based on emerging evidence. What is the key word over here? The focus when it comes to vaccination policy should be on emerging evidence and not on precedents. There's one word here, precedent means what? An earlier event or action that is regarded as an example or guide to be considered in subsequent similar circumstances. The Supreme Court, in a decisive or decisive order, has laid out a fine balance between individual liberty and the state's right to impose restrictions in the interest of public safety. This again talks about there are two dimensions when it comes to a particular policy. Either a policy can be imposed or a policy can be implemented with the consent of a lot of majority of people. This is based on imposing a particular idea or imposing certain restrictions. The Supreme Court, in a decisive order, part of speech adjective, what does it mean? Having or showing the ability to make decisions quickly and effectively, one meaning, and something that is important, that is very crucial. Decisive or decisive order has laid out, this is very important from the exam point of view. You may ask how, that's very good. How is it important? We have a particular topic, confusing verbs. And the most important over here, over there, when you consider that particular topic, we have lie, it could be a noun, lie, a verb, it can be a regular verb, then it is lie, lied, lied. It could be an irregular verb, lie, lay, lain. But we also have a separate verb, lay, laid, laid. You have to recollect. Lie, lied, lied means what? To tell a lie. Lie, lay, lain. It has two different meanings. One meaning to be in the horizontal position while relaxing. The other meaning to be in a particular state for a long time. Lay, laid, laid as a verb, a different verb. It means to put something down. And it goes with rules, regulations, things, babies, roads, all these foundation stone. The Supreme Court in a decisive order has laid out a fine balance between individual liberty. There are two things between one, individual liberty, and the state's right to impose restrictions in the interest of public safety. One is individual liberty. What is the other one? The state's right. Here, state, not a typical state like Telangana or Andhra Pradesh or Maharashtra. Here, state means the government, the country, independent state, a sovereign country. The state's right to impose an important word, though we have got many a time. Force your ideas on someone, force on someone. Unwelcome decision usually. Impose restrictions in interest of public safety. A fine balance should be maintained. What does the sentence talk about? There should be a fine balance between individual liberty and the state's right to impose restrictions in the interest of the public safety. Usually, the government imposes restrictions keeping in mind the interest of public safety. But there are some limitations. The editorial talks about that. An individual had the right, they should have used the helping verb has, but it is in past. An individual had the right to refuse vaccination, and though the government could impose limitations on rights of individuals, it had to be reasonable and proportionate to the extent that it achieved the objective in this case, containing the spread of the coronavirus. A lengthy sentence. What does it talk about? An individual, here the first part of the sentence talks about the rights of individuals. An individual better has a right to refuse vaccination. This is one dimension, one side of the coin. And though contrasting information, the government could impose limitations. The government has a power. The government could impose limitations on rights of individuals. Though the government could impose limitations on rights of individuals, it had to be reasonable and proportionate. The government has the power, the right to impose limitations, but that power or those limitations, they have to be reasonable and proportionate. A reasonable should be able to justify whatever restrictions the government imposes. Should be able to, it should be able to justify, and the restrictions or limitations should be reasonable. Again, one aspect. What is the other aspect? And proportionate to what? To the extent that it achieved the objective. Based on to what extent it could control the virus, proportionate to that it has to impose the limitations. In this case, proportionate to the extent that it achieved this objective. What is objective in this case? Containing the spread of the coronavirus. Contain has two different meanings. You all know the typical meaning of the word contain something. But here, contain, what is the meaning of the word contain? Here it means restrict. Containing the spread of the coronavirus means what? Restricting the spread of the coronavirus. The sentence says the individual has a right to refuse vaccination on the one hand. On the other hand, though the government has the power, the authority to impose limitations, these limitations or restrictions should be reasonable and also proportionate to what extent it could contain the spread of the virus. The current evidence, now it comes to the main idea. What is the main idea? The policy should be based on evidence, not based on precedents. What does the current evidence suggest? The current evidence, the court reasoned, another important word, a reason. What are the reasons behind something? We all know how to use it as a noun, but here the word reason, a regular verb, used as a verb. As a verb, what does it mean? Think, understand, and form judgments logically. The current evidence, the court reasoned, suggested that unvaccinated individuals were no more likely to spread the virus than those vaccinated. The court reasoned based on the evidence. There's no difference between vaccinated individuals and unvaccinated individuals when it comes to spreading the virus, both at the same level. The current evidence, the court reasoned, suggested that unvaccinated individuals were no more likely to spread the virus than those vaccinated, and based on that, therefore, people could not be denied access to public places, services, and resources for being unvaccinated. We all know if someone says, I'm not vaccinated, imagine the person is stopped, denied access to public places. Deny means to say no, refuse public places. The court felt, reasoned, there's no difference between when it comes to spreading the virus, vaccinated individuals and unvaccinated individuals. Based on that, there's no point in restricting access to public places for those who are not vaccinated or for being unvaccinated. Easy to understand, but there's one word, reasoned. However, this was no blanket order. The court reasoned, but no blanket order. You have already got blanket ban. What does it mean? Complete ban, blanket order, not complete. It is not absolute. However, this was no blanket order, and if infection rates increased and vaccines demonstrably reduced susceptibility to infections, the government was within its rights to impose restrictions. As long as the government contains the spread of the virus, the individual rights become prominent, and the government cannot impose the restrictions. But on the other hand, however, contrasting information, this was no blanket order. However, if infection rates increased, imagine the cases go up, increased, and vaccines demonstrably reduced the susceptibility to infections. There is evidence that vaccines reduce susceptibility to infections. What is the meaning of the word susceptible? An important word. The state or fact of being likely or liable to be influenced, more than influenced, better harmed by a particular thing, susceptible. Susceptibility to infections. In that case, the cases go up and the vaccines reduce susceptibility to infections. The government was within its rights to impose restrictions. Then the government can impose restrictions. Nothing wrong with that. The order underscores, you have got many a time, underscore what is the meaning in this context, highlight, make something important. The order underscores, it also means emphasize. The order emphasizes or underscores scientific reasoning, and that the pandemic also continues to pose tough science conundrums that generate new knowledge and challenge received wisdom. A lengthy sentence, not too lengthy, but here there is one important word. What is that word? Conundrum singular and conundrums plural. Means a confusing and difficult problem or question. The order by the court, what does it emphasize? The order underscores or emphasizes scientific reasoning, and that the pandemic also continues to pose tough science conundrums that generate new knowledge and challenge received wisdom. So, based on that, it has kept it open. It is not a blanket order. Based on the situation, the government can impose restrictions. Then the editorial provides a background information. What exactly happened last year? Why there was a focus on the vaccination and there was a demand for vaccines. It talks about all those dimensions. Last year, this time, India was besieged by the second pandemic and also woefully short of vaccines. There was a problem. Demand was more and supply was less. This sentence talks about last year, this time, what was the situation? What was the scenario? India was besieged by, usually this word goes with war, army, to surround a place, especially with an army. But here, in this context, surrounded by the second pandemic, covered by. Last year, this time, India was besieged by the second pandemic and also woefully short of vaccines. Woefully, an important word, in a manner expressing sorrow or misery. Very bad situation, you can say. Woefully short of vaccines. The central policy, what was the policy at that time? The central policy then was to rationalize access to vaccines because demand outstripped supply. Another important word, outstrip, means what? To be or become greater than something or someone in amount, degree, or success. In this context, because demand outstripped supply. Demand outstripped means what? There was more demand and the supply was not up to the expectations. While availability was a key factor, it was also because scientific evidence showed vaccination stemmed progression to severe disease and the priority was to save lives. Why this demand that time? Demand was more and demand outstripped supply. While availability was a key factor, the vaccines were not available. Based on that, there was a demand, key factor, important factor. It was also because scientific evidence showed the second reason why there was a demand. The second reason, scientific evidence showed vaccination stemmed, an important word here. Stem as such, it's a noun, but here it is a verb, two different meanings, one positive, the other negative. Here, stemmed means stop something unwanted from spreading or increasing. What is unwanted in this context? The pandemic, the COVID 19, the virus. So, stemmed progression to severe disease. Stop progression moving towards severe disease. And that time, the priority was to save lives. It talks about how many Indians have had the first shot or taken the vaccine. Close to 75% of Indians have had at least one vaccine shot, and a good proportion have hybrid immunity. Hybrid, usually this goes with seeds. From two different plants, you crossbreed, then you get that is known as a new variety, a new species, that is known as hybrid. But here, this sentence is important from the exam point of view in the sense have had. Which tense is this? Try to guess. I have had my breakfast. That is present perfect. As such, it is not important. But in the exam, they may give the same pattern in past perfect. Then how does it change? Had. A lot of students think when they come across had, they think something is wrong and they think there's an error. Do remember there's nothing wrong with this pattern. What is a pattern? We use the helping verb had two times in the same clause or sentence. Then comes the question, which tense is that? This is present perfect and had is past perfect. We use past perfect. When do we use? When there are two actions that happened in the past, one after the other. For the first one, we use past perfect. For the second one, we use past tense. I had my breakfast before I came here. Nothing wrong with this sentence that you have to recollect. Close to 75% of Indians have had at least one vaccine shot, and a good proportion have hybrid immunity. New Year, highly transmissible variants, and the West's experience. West, when you come across words like the West, the East, you have to think of two words. One is Occidental, the other is Oriental. When we talk about culture, we try to differentiate Western culture, Eastern culture. Western culture, there's one word. What is it? Occidental culture. For Eastern culture, there's one word, Oriental culture. You have to recollect these two words, Occidental, Oriental. Occidental means West, Oriental means East. Based on all these highly transmissible variants, new variants, and the West's experience of infections being rife despite triple shots. Infections being rife. Rife is an important word. What does it mean? Widespread. Despite, in spite of, triple shots. Three shots also, infections rife, means widespread. Have all depressed demand for boosters in India. The third shot. No demand, depressed demand for boosters. What is the reason? In spite of, despite triple shots, the infections are rife. While last year, before the second wave, vaccine hesitancy was ascribed to the low uptake. Ascribe, attribute. What does it mean? Regard something as being due to or a cause. Low uptake. It is quite likely now that people are exercising their option of waiting for more kinds of the vaccine. Last time it was there was some sort of hesitancy. What is the meaning of the word hesitancy? Hesitate. Usually we say, don't hesitate means what? Don't take your own time. Don't try to be in two minds. Do something. Don't hesitate. Do something immediately. Why last year, before the second wave, vaccine hesitancy was ascribed to the low uptake. It is quite likely now that people are exercising. Now also there's hesitancy. What is the reason this time? They are exercising their options or waiting for more kinds of the vaccine so that they can take the best one. The current attitude of the public or people, the current attitude is foregrounded in the ground reality. There's one important word, foregrounded, foreground as a verb. Make something the most prominent or important feature. The rooted in this context, the current attitude is foregrounded or rooted in the ground reality, what is happening in real ground reality, that daily infections are low despite a complete opening of normal life. Now, no restrictions whatsoever, complete opening of normal life in spite of that or despite low infections. Obviously, people are not scared, they are not worried. Well, that is a ground reality. What is a ground reality? Daily infections are low in spite of the fact or despite a complete opening up of normal life. So, why will they show interest when it comes to taking a vaccine? In the first year of the pandemic, when vaccines were in a nascent stage, an important word, nascent, especially of a process or organization just coming into existence and beginning to display signs of future potential. Nascent, emerging, just come into existence, and it shows a lot of potential. When vaccines were in a nascent stage and the virus was raging, rage, actually the word rage goes with anger, but another meaning to happen in a strong or violent way was raging means widespread. The scientific wisdom was that lockdowns based on that particular situation. What was the situation? Nascent stage of vaccines, one thing, and also the virus was raging. The scientific wisdom was that lockdowns and vaccination of two-thirds of the population would end the pandemic. An idea that has not come to pass. Has come to pass means to happen, to occur. An idea that has not come to pass. Thus, it could be very well be that newer kinds of vaccines proven to curb transmission may change the understanding of the best possible means to contain the blight. Now, work is going on, new vaccines. Based on that, thus, it could be very well be that newer kinds of vaccines proven to curb transmission, curb means restrict, may change the understanding of the best possible means to contain the blight. Contain again here it means restrict. So it may change the understanding how to control the vaccine. That is the bottom line. That is the $1 million question. New vaccines and the best possible means to contain the blight. We may have the answers. Contain, restrict the blight. Blight, something that spoils or has a very bad effect, or something often for a long time. In this context, the virus. The suppression of individual liberty. Now it comes to the main idea, individual's liberty and the right of the state to impose restrictions. The suppression, controlling something or someone with a very strict, in a strict manner, suppress, it has a negative connotation. The suppression of individual liberty for the greater good is perhaps among the oldest and toughest questions that democracies grapple with. What does democracy talk about? What is democracy? It is focused on individual rights, the right to so many rights individuals can experience, can have. The suppression of individual liberty or the rights of the individuals for the greater good. When you want a lot of people to get benefited, keeping that in mind, if you impose restrictions on individual liberty, that can be justified, that cannot be justified. There are two, either this way or that way. And based on that, the toughest question, whether right or wrong, the suppression of individual liberty for the greater good is perhaps among the oldest and toughest questions that democracies grapple with. grapple with, to fight, especially in order to win something, to deal with. And beyond the orders, it is judicial reasoning that influences policy and future discourse when the facts on the ground change. It is always like to be or not to be. What is important, individual liberty or greater good of the public? They have to grapple, the governments have to grapple with. But in this context, and beyond the orders, now it is based on the Supreme Court order, beyond the orders, it is judicial reasoning, justification that influences policy. The policy should be influenced on judicial reasoning and future discourse, an important word. Discourse means what? Communication, speech, or writing. When the facts on the ground change, it should be flexible, dynamic. The facts on the ground change. Accordingly, the policy has to change based on the evidence, not based on the precedent. How does the editorial end? The authorities must keep scientific evidence. Main idea is being reiterated. The authorities must keep scientific evidence at the forefront. Another important word, forefront, part of speech noun. What does it mean? The most noticeable or important position. Something is in the forefront, means in the first position or important position. The authorities must keep scientific evidence at the forefront when they take decisions that affect individual choice, whether to take the vaccine or not. Affect, again, you have to recollect the difference between affect and effect. That's all about the editorial, a lot of words, a lot of expressions. And how can you consolidate your grammar knowledge based on a particular editorial? You have to read meticulously, and a few phrases, a few tenses you have to identify and recollect. That way you can consolidate. Editorial grammar has laid out a fine balance. Lay out, lay means what? Spread, put down. A fine balance between individual liberty and the right of the state to impose restrictions. Impose restrictions, impose tax, impose something, a combination, in the interest of public safety. An important phrase. Here you can also, please focus on what I'm talking about. Don't ask questions irrelevant or off the track. I'm doing this after spending so many hours. I'm talking about analysis and try to learn something from the analysis, and don't go off the track and ask questions. Once this part is, I have told many a time, once the analysis part is over, then you can ask questions. But when I'm doing seriously the analysis, trying to enrich your knowledge, you ask something else. That is not acceptable. I have told many a time. It distracts my focus. Please don't do that. Impose restrictions in the interest of public safety. In the interest, you can say in the interest of public safety. It had to be. Here, the helping verb has to be or have to be. Third person singular has to be. Other pronouns had to be. Past had to be. Important. Have to be has to be present. Had to be past. It had to be. I have to do that. I had to do that. Important pattern. It had to be reasonable and proportionate. Containing the spread of something. Containing the spread of the coronavirus. Here, contain means restrict. Sometimes what happens in English, same word, different meanings, and based on that, they ask questions. That way, this is very important. And these words go with sync model. What is sync model? They give two sentences, each sentence with a blank. Then they give five options. And you have to choose one word that goes with both the sentences. Different meanings, different context, but you can use the same word because some words they have multiple meanings. So here contain belongs to that category. This was no blanket order. And regarding grammar rules, regarding how to, all these things I told yesterday itself, I'm going to resume, but not here, my app. Please attend regularly, then you get the complete picture. What, whether you're going to get something, not going to get something. This was no blanket order. No blanket order. Already have got blanket ban, means what? Complete ban. Pose tough science conundrums. Pose tough questions. Pose some problems or pose tough, difficult situations. Here, pose means to present, an important expression. Priority was to save lives. You can use present tense or past tense, it doesn't matter. The priority is to save lives. The priority was to save lives. See, what I don't understand, let me complete this. Close to 75% of Indians have had, very important, at least one vaccine shot. Have had, very important. Now, let me tell all of you very clearly. After spending 3 or 4 hours for each session, I come here with the editorial. Here I have told many a time there are two parts. One is editorial analysis. The second is practice questions based on exam topics. I see the number going up when it comes to the second part. But the main objective of every day, the session, spending so many hours, not the second part, the first part. What is the first part? Editorial analysis. You may ask why. Practice questions based on exam topics. There are so many sources, and mock tests are there, test series, so many sources, and not a big deal in the sense you can easily, there are so many sources, a wide choice, and you can attend, you can easily grasp. But only a few people do editorial analysis, one first thing. Second, only hardly, not, I don't think more than three only in English, only in English. A lot of people do editorial analysis, bilingual approach, Hindi, English, you come across quite often, but only in English, perhaps across the country, two or three maximum. I belong to that category. Why have I been doing this particular thing for the last 2 or 3 years? There's a reason. As a well-wisher, as an educator, I know what is important when it comes to selection. When it comes to final selection, it is not grammar. It is reading comprehension skill and vocabulary. Then what is the source? How to improve? You have to read the Hindu editorials. Then students say, sir, we don't understand, we can't understand, we find it very difficult. Then keeping that in mind, I have come up with this particular session. Editorial analysis. What is the reason behind? When you attend this session, you get an idea how to read the editorial, and I'm saving your time giving the meaning of so many words. If you have to do the same thing on your own, you have to spend a lot of time. And also, you get an idea whether it is important, not important, and what are the things you have to learn. There's so many things. One, grammar. Second, effective English. Third, vocabulary. And fourth, the most important, comprehension skill. So first half an hour, 8 to 8:30, in my opinion, I have been telling you guys the most important. If you attend between 8 and 8:30, you are there and you listen attentively, you learn, you enrich your knowledge, you are going in the right direction. The chances are very bright to get selected, the final selection. You can take my words in, I can give in writing, take my words for granted. But you feel that is not important. There are two ways to feel that way. One, you are here, but you ask questions about something else. That means you are not here. You are not focusing on what I'm talking, the analysis. Second, you don't attend, you join at 8:30. That is of no use, in my opinion. It is useful, but selection point of view, it is of no use. What is important, selection point of view? Editorial analysis. The most important thing is this one. And when this is going on, I do it with a lot of focus. I have to do it with a lot of focus, and you have to listen with a lot of focus. Every word, every expression, I may use new words, I may use new phrases. Everything you have to listen and grasp. Instead of doing that, you ask something else. Ask about 200 rules. Ask about something else. Ask about something entirely different. That cannot be justified. Please don't do that. If you attend, you join the session at 8 o'clock, 8 to 8:30, please focus on the analysis and try to enrich your knowledge. Every second is important. And once I see those things, the comments, I may get deviated. That is not advisable. Now let us go to enhance your comprehension skill. This has been going on. I told yesterday very clearly, I'm going to resume the 200 grammar rules, important, how to crack something, 100 topics I mentioned, but not here. You have to download my app. Only there you can have those sessions. And if you don't, let's say you did not attend yesterday, and now you ask today, and tomorrow you don't attend. tomorrow I'm going to tell something important. Day after tomorrow, when the session is on, I'm doing analysis very seriously. You ask questions that cannot be justified. Please don't do that. It's a request from my side. I hope you guys you understand, because others should not get disturbed. There are so many students who are listening attentively. I don't want those students to get disturbed. What is this editorial about? You should write, that helps in the long run. The Supreme Court, in a decisive order or decisive order, has laid out, keywords, laid out, a fine balance between what? You have to navigate, locate these, and you have to. And so many of my students, based on the editorial analysis, you guys won't believe, recent SBI selection, one student from Chennai, not my student actually, but she attended the editorial editorial sessions, and she got selected SBI PO. I came to know she could get the selection because of first attempt, the editorial analysis, my sessions, SBI PO first attempt, and these sessions have helped to a great extent, it seems. What did the court reason in the context of the editorial? Keyword reason, the court. Based on that, you should be able to write the answer. What does the pandemic continue to pose? Pandemic pose, keywords. How many Indians have had at least one vaccine shot? Indians have had what? One vaccine shot, keywords. You should be able to answer, not that difficult. Now let us go to enrich your word power based on editorial vocabulary. Very important. Try to answer quickly because of the time factor. Please go to the meanings directly. Later you can write the parts of speech, but I will tell the part of speech. So impose part of speech, verb. What does it mean? Impose. Force on someone, usually something undesirable. Answer C. Conundrum, noun. What does it mean? A difficult or complicated problem. E. Stem could be a noun, typical. It could be a verb. As a verb, it has a positive meaning. It has a negative meaning. In the context of the editorial, it's negative. Stem means stop. Not exactly negative, goes with a negative context. Stop something from. J. Besiege, a regular verb, to surround a place, to surround something, a place. In this context, by the virus. Answer is A. Woefully, easy to make out, it is an adverb. Widespread, I'm sorry, it is in a manner expressing misery. H is the answer. Outstrip, part of speech, verb, it's a regular verb. What does it mean? To become greater than. B is the answer. Rife with, remember the preposition combination, very important. And rife, part of speech, it could be adjective. Means what? Widespread. Here we have to use widespread. Ascribe, a regular verb. Regarding something as a cause, the reason behind. Nascent, just coming into existence and showing the potential. G is the answer. Adjective. Curb, part of speech, verb, means what? To restrict something or to control something. I hope you have got all the 10 correct. Then you should be very happy. Parts of speech, meanings. Now, from now on, I'm going to talk about the courses every day, so that if you miss one day, every day you can get the information. First, you have to download my app. Someone requested, sir, please take here itself. No, I will not do that. I have my own app and I'm going to enrich your knowledge. For that, you have to. For some, I may charge, for some, I may not charge. If you want to enrich your knowledge, you have to download the app, and there you get all these 200 rules, or how to crack something, or how to master something with the help of mind maps, all these. What is the name of the app? Murthy's English. All that you have to do, go to Play Store and search for Murthy's app. You come across the app, download the app. That's it. Very simple. 2 steps. These are the features. Go to the features later. And I'm starting on 5th or 6th. I'll come up with a separate video. 2 courses. One is based on reading comprehension skill and vocabulary, an important area, very crucial when it comes to final selection. Editorial course. What is this course? Every day you have been attending, every day I come up with the editorial session. From the same session, you have 600 effective words with meanings and also synonyms, antonyms. Here only meanings. And no laptop, no, only mobile, Android, that too Android. What does it cover? Reading comprehension, effective vocabulary, idioms, phrasal verbs, standard phrases, prepositional combinations, grammar, writing skill, etc. But here you get one video and one PDF. That's it. And not only that, once a week, you may get, what will you get? 60 plus videos, 60 plus PDFs with answers, explanations, special videos, special articles. I may provide the articles from international magazines, important articles based on sleep's concept. And duration 3 months, the course fee is 300 and not live sessions, mind you. Second course, exam topics. Practice exam topics. Exam topics very important. 300 questions with explanations. Exam topics course. Exam topics, what are the exam topics? Error location, sentence improvement, phrase replacement, cloze test, passage, parajumbles, scrambled sentences, fillers, different models, new patterns. What will you get? Again, 60 plus videos, 60 plus PDFs with answers, special videos, special articles, duration 3 months, course fee 300. And I'm going to launch all the 2 courses and the magazine. I will come up with a separate video for each one, and I'll be launching on Friday or Saturday. You have to wait till that time. If you download the app today, you may not see, but Friday or Saturday, you'll get all the details. And once you have these things as a course and the magazine, when you download the app, you see, then you can purchase. English magazine, useful for banks, SSC, UPSC, State Public Service Commission, CAT, CLAT, all these exams. And this is not the regular magazine, it is not hard copy. E-magazine, digital e-magazine for all competitive and entrance exams. What does it cover? All these important areas like reading comprehension skill, effective vocabulary, idioms, phrasal verbs, standard phrases, prepositional combinations, grammar, exam topics, writing skill. And this is once a week, a weekly one. Subscription 500 for 3 months. This, you can have a look at these later after the session. Now let us go to practice questions based on exam topics. Only for a month it is going to be free, Gangadhar. You don't have to pay. I'll be providing all these. You guys don't have to pay. 1 month or 2 months, I will talk to you guys when I take the session. You don't have to worry about it. For some time, you don't have to pay. That is for sure. Please read the first one and try to spot the error. Oh, it's already 8:48. Every state has been asked to nominate a fixed number of cities as smart cities, keeping in mind certain guidelines and criteria. Here, every state has been asked, present perfect passive voice, nothing wrong, to nominate a fixed number of. We cannot use a noun in the singular form when we use a phrase, a fixed number of. Here, countable noun, it should be in the plural form. City is not correct, it should be cities. A fixed number of books, a fixed number of cities, a fixed number of files. The noun should be in the plural form. Question is about noun form, not singular, it should be plural. Very good. Unless you got to be alert. No, I'll continue editorial analysis here. Don't you? No, I will continue here. Then you may ask, sir, what is the difference between the editorial course? We can watch on YouTube. It is there. But there you're going to get special videos and you're going to get with answers. Here you don't have the answers. But there, if you take that course, you get the answers. For example, reading comprehension skill. What is this editorial about? There's no answer. And I have brought 5 questions. There you may get more questions, but questions with answers and how to answer, how to locate. All these, and also para jumble. I may explain how to get the correct order. More information, obviously. Unless in the same clause we should not use another negative expression, then it comes under double negative. First, you have to check that one. Unless the government encourages investment in, nothing wrong. In manufacturing, many factories and industrial units will closed or will be closed. Here, if the government does not encourage, many industrial units will be closed. They will be closed. Will closed is not correct. We have to say they will be closed. That is a correct expression. Please go to question number 3. Social media disclose that. Exactly. Social media disclosed that it restricted as many as 4,960 items of content on social networking site in India in compliance with official requests in the first half of 2014. Here, the clue for you, 2014. The moment you see 2014, you have to tell yourself the context goes into past. Then social media disclosed that. You cannot say, sure, I will do that. Disclose, not correct. We have to say disclosed that. The verb should be in the past form. Contextual awareness. We are running out of time. The technology senses how a hand shake and makes instant adjustments to stay balanced. This is a difficult one. Some of these questions are from previous year's papers, bank exams. These are toughest under pressure. I will tell the reason. First, you try to answer. The technology senses how a hand shake and makes instant adjustments to stay balanced. Very good, Bharat. Here the technology senses what? Senses something. How a hand shakes. How a hand shakes. Very good. You guys have got it right. Highly appreciable. Handshake, that is a noun. But how a hand shakes, how he does, how he goes, how he walks. Here the verb should be present tense, subject, third person singular. We should add s or es to the verb. Based on that, the technology senses how a hand shakes and makes instant adjustments to stay balanced. Then it is correct. With the water project moving a step closer to feasibility, city residents can soon expect for sufficient water supply. No response. How come? Here we don't have to use a preposition for. City residents can soon expect sufficient water supply. There is an error. Can expect sufficient water supply or sufficient water. We don't have to use a preposition for. There is an error. Only a few students, Bharadwaj has got it right. After that, a few students I see. Preetham also. Please go to double fillers. A few are easy, a few are challenging. You have to respond quickly. We have only 6 minutes. Most of the committee members, feasible means possible. We have got the word many a time. Feasible, possible, viable, feasible, possible, related words. Most of the committee members in favor of a new dam in that village. Most of the committee members, committee you have to recollect, collective noun, the related rules. Committee, jury, team, staff, important words. Most of the committee members in favor of committee members, plural, was ruled out and are in favor of the proposing, no, were in favor of the construction of a new dam, grammatically correct, not still breaking of a new dam. What is the answer? Answer is the third option. Plural verb and construction of a new dam. She to learn basic German as she will be for Germany next month. What is the answer? She likes to learn, seems right. She will be reaching for Germany, not correct. She wants to learn, she'll be leaving for Germany. Hold this one. Intends to learn, nothing wrong. She'll be visiting for Germany, not correct. She tries to learn, nothing wrong. Touring for Germany, not correct. She knows to learn, not correct. So, what is the answer? She wants to learn basic German as she will be leaving for. And this is an important expression, leave for. But a common error a lot of people use leave to, not correct. He left to Bombay, not correct. He left for Bombay. Remember, we have to use a preposition for, an important one. You have to recollect and consolidate. They invited all the members of the association, the inauguration function. They had invited by the inauguration, at the inauguration, in the inauguration, for the inauguration, obviously. Answer is a fourth option. What do you mean by timing? Timing for what, Rahul? They have invited all the members of the association for the inauguration. They their best, but were to retrieve any data from that computer. They gave their best, you can consider, but were sorry to retrieve. Showed their best, no. They thought their best. They sent their best. They don't make sense as such. They tried their best, perfect, but were unable to retrieve any data from that computer. Answer is the fifth option. The of rural schools is poor as to the urban counterparts. The functions, the progress, unlike to is not correct. Compared to, hold this one. Exactly. State of as matched, not correct. As contrast to. What is the answer? The condition of rural schools is poor as compared to their urban counterparts. Answer is the third option. Here, these are easy, should not be that difficult. Shall I continue? It's already 8:59. We have misspelled words, then idioms. It may take 5 minutes. You see four words in bold, maybe right, maybe wrong, spelling wise, maybe appropriate, maybe inappropriate, context wise. So go through all these and try to spot. Discussion, no problem. Discussion is an exchange of knowledge. And these questions, read the complete sentence. Don't simply focus on the words because the word may be right spelling wise, but contextually may not be appropriate. There are two dimensions here, wrongly spelt or inappropriate. So you have to read the complete sentence. Discussion is an exchange of knowledge, whereas argument, what is the spelling of argument? Argument. Argument is a depiction of ignorance. So other words are right. The ministry's proposal for an autonomous, overarching authority for higher education and research was finally approved. Here, what happens if you focus only on the words, all the words are correct, spelling wise. But if you read the sentence meticulously, you understand the context, then you find the error. Yes, the ministry's proposal, nothing wrong, for an autonomous overarching authority, no problem, for higher education and research proposal was finally approved. Was approved, past tense passive voice. We cannot say approval, was approved. The proposal was approved. They approved the proposal, active voice. The proposal was approved, passive voice, past tense. Here you have to read and understand, only then you can spot. Silent is to retreat in wordless prayer, gazing out the window of your heart, and going for slow meandering walks in a garden. Meandering means not in a straight manner, in a zigzag manner, wavy manner. Silent is to retreat. Here it is not silent, it has to be silence. Silent person, silent place, adjective. Here we cannot use adjective as a noun, as the subject, noun. Silence is to retreat. So we have to use a noun form of the word. Silence is correct. A majority of army tanks continue to grope in the dark, stricken as they are with an acute case of night blindness. A majority of army tanks continue to grope, means struggle, nothing wrong, in the dark, stricken by, grief stricken, strike, stricken, related word, form, nothing wrong, as they are with an acute, what is the spelling of acute? Acute. Acute means severe, severe case of night blindness. Yes, that's right. Very good. Nothing wrong with blindness. Back home, the ever affable Bollywood singer shares the excitement of having performed at the Royal Hall in London. So, what does it mean? Or first you read the sentence and try to spot the error. Very good. Back home, an important phrase. The ever affable means friendly. EFF, affable, to be able to describe in words, but AFF, you got to be careful. It means friendly. Nothing wrong. Bollywood singer shares the excitement, nothing wrong. Of having performed, an important expression, nothing wrong. So answer all correct. You have 5 idioms and 5 meanings. Try to match quickly. Then this is the last slide. Enrichment point of view. Negotiate forcefully. Negotiate something forcefully. What is the idiom for that? Drive a hard bargain. Answer is B. People have to do what you say. Otherwise, they will have to leave or quit the project. My way or the highway. Answer is E. No longer able to abstain from a habit. Refrain, abstain, to keep away. Means off the wagon. C. This is a bit difficult. To begin traveling, to leave a place, to go away. Hit the road. Major and minor roads. Highways and byways. Highways and byways. I hope you guys have got all the 5 correct. That's all for today. Thanks for being with me till 5 past 9. Have a nice day. Do remember to subscribe and share. And also, yes, of course, also join the Telegram group. All that you have to do after the session, go to the description of the video and click on the link and spend some time on the app and also